Alright, today's video is going to be a little bit different than the normal vlog style that I post on the channel. I had a talking head portion in the last video that I wanted to expand on more in the video, but it just was adding way too much time to the actual video length. So we cut it and made it this entire video right here. In this video, I go through two sample t-shirts that we got from a supplier we've been looking to test from. I got a sample from them before, just on a different style t-shirt, and wanted to try one that was more oversized to see if it fits what we were going for our upcoming collection. There were some improvements that we wanted to make with the shirts going forward, but they overall were pretty nice quality garments. But in the meantime, since I recorded that clip, I received a sample from another supplier that we're also testing with for an upcoming drop. Just to have different options so we can compare the quality and the cost between our current supplier and these two new ones, just with different minimum order quantities, different unit costs, and just the quality and construction of the garments overall. Just wanted to quickly showcase what this sample looks like. Like I talked about in the sampling portion of this video with the two t-shirts, you're not always going to get the perfect sample, and you have to work with your supplier to rectify the issue, whether it's them just covering the cost of the sample because they messed up, them making a new sample for you, and more importantly, finding a way to mitigate the issues going forward if you do choose to continue working with this supplier. So I'm going to show you the two garments now. One is a similar style t-shirt that we're looking to achieve with this new supplier that we already have done with our previous drops with our current supplier, and then show just some areas where we could improve on the product that we already launched, and then show where there was faults with this current sample. So let's get into it. So to start off, we'll go through one of our t-shirts that we already have launched from our previous collection, the Racer Drop. This is our Soaring Wings tee. It's an oversized fit, 220 GSM, 100% cotton t-shirt with a front and back graphic for the graphics on the shirt, and then some puff 3D embroidery, and then just woven label neck tags. So we'll go through the construction of the garment in terms of some of the finishings on it, and then I'll show you what the sample we just received is. So in terms of the neck label, we do 5.5 centimeters by 2 centimeters, and it's just below the bottom of this neckline trim right here. And all of our sizing goes right on the right side of the woven label. One thing we're going to be doing going forward for all the garments that we make is having the people that construct the garment use matching thread to the woven label on the top of the sewing machine, and then for the bobbin on the bottom of the sewing machine that comes through and will actually stitch in the back, we'll keep it as same colored thread as the t-shirt, so you can barely even see those white lines right there. But if they do black thread and the tension on the sewing machine is at the correct setting, it'll be black thread on top, so it'll be basically invisible thread on both sides as opposed to the white lines that you see here now. So that's one area on our current product that we plan to make improvements on going forward for all the products that we launch. But they got the measurement of this exactly right, centered position right here, and it's perfectly straight along the line below. Now going on to the puff embroidery on the back, we just keep it pretty small and minimal on the back, matching thread, so you can't really notice it from afar, but when you come up close you can see the Elevate brand on it. In terms of placement, the placement right here is good with based on our tech pack, and then the sizing is it's right around a 3 centimeter wide logo on the back. Now for this branded piece on the back of the neck, one of the changes that we wanted to see for the sample that we just ordered was this top line right here be dropped to 2 centimeters below the bottom thread right there. If that can focus, we wanted it to drop down 2 centimeters from the top of the Elevate logo to the bottom of the thread right there. And that's something we did not achieve. So right here, it sits about almost 4 centimeters from the tip of the Elevate logo all the way up to the thread right there, which is significantly different comparatively to the other shirt. The other shirt's not even a centimeter, but we wanted 2 centimeters, which would be right at this halfway point right there because they're at 4 centimeters currently. So that was number one where they messed up according to our tech pack. Obviously you guys can see that this logo is way bigger than the other one. For whatever reason, the supplier said they could not get 3 centimeters or smaller for the size. The smallest they could do is 5 centimeters. So we just wanted to see what it would even look like in terms of the quality of their stitching comparatively to previous work we've had done, whether it was the 5 centimeters or not, just so we can get a test of their capabilities. Now coming up here on the back of the shirt, if you can see it, it's kind of hard. You can barely even see the threads from the back of the woven label, but you can kind of see it right there. You can see how it already goes up higher onto this back neckline as opposed to stopping right at the top. So as we flip it over, first things first, this is way off from what we asked for. We wanted it to be horizontal and on the right side like you guys saw on the previous shirt. Next, they aligned this woven label at the top of the neck band right here that goes inside the collar, and this one at the bottom. In terms of measurements, this was 1/2 centimeter bigger, so 6 centimeters wide. They got the height correct, but obviously this does not look nearly as good as the other setup that we have on our current products that we launched. So that's another problem that instantly came up during the sampling process of this shirt. So like I showed you in the sampling process with the 2 t-shirts, I measured every single part of the garment to make sure it just matched the tech pack and matched the measurements that the supplier gave us for the various patterns that they cut. With this sample specifically, one of the things that we were measuring that I wasn't on those 2 shirts is placement of the design on the garment and the size of the design itself. And we came across a discrepancy there. So the actual height of the design from the bottom of the neckline down to where it's supposed to be on the center chest was off by 1/2 centimeter. So that's another issue that we went through. So just a simple measurement right here from the base of the neckline down to the top of the elevate design right here was 1/2 centimeter longer than what it's supposed to be. The rest of the sizing of the design itself from tip of the star to the edge of the elevate and the height of the design itself was good. This is a sneak peek. I've showed it in our Discord and a few other spots, but our Stars Aligned tee, one of the t-shirts that's going to be coming with our next collection that we launch. The last issue we ran across with this sample, which is a major issue, is it's supposed to be a 230 GSM 100% cotton t-shirt, which it is, but it was not an oversized fit like we put in the tech pack or anything. And so I'm an extra large true to size. And when I put on this extra large, or what is claimed to be an extra large, it definitely was in their local sizing, or just the patterns themselves were cut to the wrong size. After talking with the supplier, they're thinking that it might be just in their local sizing, but it fits basically like if I was wearing a medium for a standard size tee. So clearly that's not going to work, and it's just another issue that we've come across. Just got a sample in the mail just now, so we're going to go through that, show you what the process is for us when we intake our samples, to just go through them, start the testing process to see if it's ready to go for launch before we make the final order for mass production. So got 2 t-shirts in. They're the same shirt, just different colorways. We got this faded blue, it's like an indigo color, so pretty sweet colorway. Haven't really dropped a piece like that on the Elevate site before. And then we got a creamish bone color, so this is also a pretty sweet colorway. So once we get the t-shirt in, there's a few steps that we go ahead and do before we actually start wearing the product. First, we go and check all the construction of the product. So we're going to look at all the stitching, see how well it's constructed. Are there any loose pieces? Are there any pieces that look like they aren't perfectly straight and got off track? Are there extra pieces of thread that are sticking out that need to be cut down and things like that? There are little things that go a long ways when you're starting a brand and trying to scale it up, and it's something that we really pride ourselves on, is taking the time to go over and go through every single garment before we actually place a mass production order with our partners. And we work with them to make sure that these little things like extra pieces of string that are sticking out are cut down. That way, by the time it comes to us, it's a product that's ready to go and we can send out to you. In the past, we've worked with partners that didn't look at all those little details and let them slip through the cracks, and we had to go through all the individual garments and trim down thread or cut out extra pieces of material to make sure it's perfect and ready to go for the customers. So that's one big component when you're trying to find a new partner or find a partner when you're first starting your brand, is do they double check their work before they send it to you? Is everything perfect, and do they hold themselves to the same standard that you're looking to hold yourself for the brand? So that's step number 1. Once you're done that, step number 2 is going through and actually measuring the garment. So you can flip-flop the order of those however you want to do it, but we're going to go ahead and look at the size guide that they have posted on their product page if you're just using a blank, or cut and sew, the size guide that they ended up going with when they cut their patterns, which should be the same as the tech pack that you sent them, but sometimes there's a variance. We'll go ahead and take this fabric ruler, and then we'll go ahead and measure all the basic measurements of the shirt. you get all those measurements done, what we're gonna do is write them down on your iPad or your notepad or whatever it is, and we're gonna cross-reference those with all of the size guides that we already have. Either, like I mentioned before, if it's a blank manufacturer, you're gonna look at the size guide reference for the blanks, or if you're working with a manufacturer on a cut and sew t-shirt, jacket, pant, you name it, you're gonna look at the tech pack that you sent them and see if they have any size references as well for the specific patterns that they cut. So you can see where's the variance in these numbers and how do we mitigate that for the future. Set control metrics for the different products. That way, if you notice as you're measuring, there's a plus 0.2 millimeter variance or a 0.5 millimeter variance in the product, you know that that's out of my tolerances for the product and we need to get reimbursed or get this product remade by the manufacturer. Once we're done measuring and going through the entire product and cross-referencing with all the numbers, we'll initially just do a quick wear test before we wash and do our initial photos as well. That's part of the fitting session, so we'll start the fitting and see how the measurements stack up with the product on the body. That's where you can see, again, for the standard sizing, like, yes, you did the measurements, but how does it actually fit on a person who's 6'4", 230 pounds? Is it the same extra large as another t-shirt blank that you use from another manufacturer or supplier? And see how those stack up against each other, especially when it's a similar product. So that'll be a big component of the fitting session that you end up conducting when we're talking about basic products like just a blank t-shirt or a cut and sew t-shirt. Once you're done the fit sessions and everything looks good from there, that's when we'll actually start doing the wash and dry treatments to see how much shrinkage shows up then. And the easy way to do this is just the second you've worn it around the first time, testing out the product and the fit and the comfort, go ahead and wash it, obviously. And then anytime your family or your company is doing a load of laundry, just throw the t-shirt in there over and over and over and over. You don't have to wear it every single time. You can just, the second another load of laundry is being washed, throw the product in. And however many washes you want to do and dries you want to do to see, usually we do 5 to 10 washes before we actually feel comfortable with it, depending on the pre-shrink versus not and the treatment on the product. So yeah, that also really helps with your graphics, screen print versus direct to garment. When you're doing these wash treatments, it's not just about the shrinking of the product, but it's also the durability of the graphics and the different trims and finishings for the product. So when you're doing the wash and dry testing as well, don't just do the standard wash on cold and let air dry or anything like that, because you have to think about what is your customer actually going to do. And aside from like your European-based customers where they're actually letting their clothes air dry and things like that, most Americans or wherever your primary customer base is they're not just air drying their clothes, or they're not drying it on cold. They're doing medium heat on a wash and they're doing medium heat in the dryer. So you need to see what is my product actually going to do when a customer doesn't abide by the wash and dry settings, and you need to combat for that, because yes, you have the tag there that explains clearly to the customer, if you guys have it on your product, the wash and care instructions for the product to make it last the longest, but you can also take your own preventative measured steps to test the product in conditions that you expect the customer to actually treat them in, and factor that in when you're trying to create a high quality, long lasting product. Once you're done the wash and dry testing, that's when you're going to go back and actually do another full measurement again, both flat lay and on the body, and that's how you're going to get a second round of numbers that you can compare from pre-wash test and dry test to after, and see how the numbers have varied there across the different sizes and across the different test conditions. And then you can also cross-reference those with the size guides that were provided by you via the tech pack or via the manufacturer of the blank that you're sourcing. So that is a brain dumped way of testing your sample once you get it. And we got this thing like 30 minutes ago. So one thing I forgot to mention when going over the sample testing when you first get the product from your supplier, aside from just double checking their work in terms of the construction of the garment, you also want to double check every single measurement that you do, because sometimes you'll have variance in the measurements that you actually gather, and you might see that the garment isn't perfectly flat laid and you need to adjust it so it can lay perfectly, so you can get a clean measurement on both sides of the garment in terms of the sleeves or just the measurement and the length and things like that, because it's not laying perfectly flat. So from the armpit down to the hem, the bottom hem just now, I got one measurement that was 1 centimeter off comparatively to the other side, even though it looked like it was perfectly flat. When I went back through the shirt and just laid it perfectly flat again, it ended up measuring perfect on both sides. So just little things like that. Don't rush through your measurements and double check every single time. All right, today we're gonna wear test the samples that we got in yesterday, and I walked you guys through the intake process for that with getting all the measurements and preparing for the actual wear testing and wash and dry testing of the samples. So I got on the Indigo right now. It's an extra large, which is true to size for me. I wear extra large across all my t-shirts unless I want an even more oversized fit. With like LA Apparel's t-shirts, I'll usually go 2XL just because I like how that fits on me comparatively to just an extra large. So with this, my waist sits about right here. So I have quite a bit of length down here. Some of the other oversized fits from other companies in XLs usually sit around here for me, with my waist being at my thumbs. In terms of the sleeves, I still have a little bit of excess until it actually reaches the elbow, and usually, like with the LA Apparel blanks, for example, the only way I have a shirt that actually hits my elbow is with the 2XL, and if you like that look, generally you gotta size up. And so for this as well, I might see if we can get a little bit more excess length in the shoulder, from the shoulder to the hem of the sleeve, just so it can come down a little bit longer to give it the oversized fit to match how much length we have throughout the body right here. Overall, the fit of the shirt feels super nice. It's a faded garment dyed tee, so it already feels like it's been worn in and washed. It's a heavyweight tee, but it still feels a little bit lighter than some of the other oversized vintage wash tees we've used in the past, so it's definitely a good summer lightweight tee. I'm excited to see how the garment dye actually washes and breaks down as the shirt gets more wear and has the worn in feel even more. We'll do a quick turn so you guys can see the fit. This is how the sleeves look from the side, and again, my waist is right about here, so a ton of length in the torso. The back. Overall, I'm pretty stoked on the fit. We'll go through the sleeves and compare with some of the other ones we've used in the past just to see if there is a big variance between those. That's the only gripe I have so far, is just with this manufacturer, we've used another cut as well, and they have really long torsos, but the sleeves are kind of short, and that's not necessarily what we're going for with this specific tee. We'll definitely do more standard fit tees like this in the future, but if we do make any changes at all, it'll just be adding a touch more length to the sleeve. I talked during that sampling part how you need to work with your suppliers to rectify the issue and make sure that it's not going to happen going forward. And a lot of the times these suppliers will claim that there is no issue and that they did everything perfectly when they really didn't. And so just with our initial conversations going back with the supplier, just right out of the gate, they're saying that their measurements met our tech pack and that the neck label was 5.5 centimeters when I've sent them photos showing that it's 6 centimeters, half a centimeter longer than we asked for, and the placement's off and all of that stuff. So these are all things that you'll notice as you talk to more suppliers and gain more experience building your clothing brand or whatever you're trying to do project-wise, hard goods manufacturing, all of this. No matter the industry, no matter the product, you're gonna run into this stuff, no matter the origin of the product you're sourcing. It just happens with manufacturing goods, and companies don't want to front the cost to fix an issue. But if you work to find a good supplier and you just order sample after sample after sample from different suppliers until you find one that communicates well, creates a product that meets all of the standards on the first try, and shows the same care for the garment that you do, that's when you know you found a good one that you want to keep and work together long term. And if they have a large catalog of products that they can work on, that's even better. Some of these manufacturers specialize in certain things, so you can only get certain products made by them, so that's why you have to go and source from a bunch of different manufacturers and have a wide net for your supply chain. But that increases risk because it's hard to actually ensure quality control when you have that many suppliers and you don't have people going to these manufacturers firsthand while the products are in production. So keeping your supply chain tight, but also having different options available for you when you're starting your brand is a huge thing. So aside from just having our one good supplier that we already have that we produce high quality garments with, like I talked about in this video, we wanted to source a second and a third and a fourth option. That way, in the event something happens with that supplier where they're not able to produce for us on time because they have something going on with their manufacturing facility or their costs go up crazy high for whatever reason, we have a second, a third, and a fourth option that we can rapidly jump to and still make sure that we can get our products out on time and to the standard that we hold for ourselves. So as a brand, you just need to constantly be evaluating your supply chain, the partners that you're working with, and seeing if you can improve your brand in any way. One of the biggest expenses for brands, especially when you're first starting out, is just the cost to produce and your stock in general. It's going to take up most of the money that you have. And so being able to find favorable terms or suppliers that have low MOQs that are willing to work with small brands to help get them off the ground and place a bet on them in the event that they become the next big brand and now they've already worked with them and you want to stay with them because they were with you from the start. You want to find different suppliers and be able to diversify your guys' supply chain so you guys are safe in the event that something happens. The primary place to go find these suppliers, like most people already know, is Alibaba, but you can also go on sources like Pietra, go to conferences like the Magic Sourcing Conference, or I'm in the Pacific Northwest, so I've been going to Functional Fabric Fair for like the last 3 conventions, and it's a great place to find suppliers that you'd never find on Alibaba or these other sources, and you really have to build personal connections with them to get into their factories. So when finding manufacturers off these other sources, typically their minimum order quantities are really high, so you have to navigate that. But if you can build a personal connection with them at the event or show promise with your brand and get them to want to invest in you and take a chance on you and start with a low MOQ, or just work with terms that can make it where you can actually get an order with them, that's a great way to build a long-lasting relationship with a supplier that can produce extremely high-quality garments or source fabrics that you might not have been able to access, or finishings or trims or whatever it may be. All right, that's going to be a wrap on today's video. Just wanted to expand on that talking point from my last video and break it into its own video itself. If you guys like this video and seeing me break down how to actually go through the process of starting your own brand or just auditing the products once you get them in, let me know in the comments or send me a message, and I'll see about making some more videos of this similar style. I don't have all the answers to any of this. I'm just doing it for the first time myself, but I can share my experiences up until this point and show what I've learned along the way, so you guys don't make the same mistakes that I have in the past. You guys can save some money that way and produce high quality garments, or just get your brand up and running quicker straight out of the gate. But let me know what you guys think and if you want us to keep these going, and we'll do a little lessons learned series or something like that. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.